I share what I'm listening to and my thoughts on music and the business daily for free at helloyassine.com. What's poppin', y'all? It looks like T-Pain might just be getting ready to go broke again since he made the same mistake. Or did he? T-Pain recently just bought a Koenigsegg, which is a custom car. I actually watched a documentary for this company several years, maybe 5 years ago or so. It was definitely before the 2020 happenings. It was a great documentary, but basically this brand of car, they only make a select amount per year. So let's say 100. I don't know the exact number. We've got some car enthusiasts in the comments. They'll correct me or give some extra detail. I'm not no car aficionado either. So they make, let's say 50 or 100, and then they sell them for a certain amount, and then they use all that money to make the next batch of cars. So it's a really boutique type of vehicle. Very rare as well. And he bought it for $2.8 million after he had just sold his publishing catalog and certain masters to an equity firm. Now, the reason why some people feel like this is a mistake by T-Pain is this is the most expensive vehicle he's ever bought. He previously bought a $1.2 million Bugatti Veyron, and at one point, he had about 36 vehicles. And he talked about it on Vlad TV. Can't show you guys the clip. Vlad's going come upside my head like that scene from, what is it, American Psycho? With the hatchet. Not even sledgehammer knocking me out or anything. Hatcheting me upside the head. Clink. Or not clink. Just chopping me up with the blood all splattered on his face and everything in his beard. So T-Pain ended up selling 2/3 of that collection. A lot of them were old school cars, and we've seen other rappers get into this same hobby, YBN Namir being one of them, buying a fleet of cars, a lot of them old school cars, modding up a bunch of vehicles, and then he ended up selling a bunch of them. And small problems here and there would frequently pop up if you don't have someone attending to the vehicles. And when you're popping and you're making all that money, you're also touring a lot, so you can't tend to the vehicles. That's why Jay Leno, who's somebody that has a gigantic collection, he has a full-time person that just monitors all the vehicles, makes sure to start the cars, make sure to move the cars, which you're creating another job for yourself. But listen, I'm not at that level of wealth. I can't speak. So he cut down his cars to 12, T-Pain. And then he said that there was a radiator issue in one of his vehicles, in the Bugatti specifically, and it was going to cost him $90,000. And he had to fix the spoiler as well. So he said, screw that, sold the car for $1 million and bought 3 other cars. So the Lamborghini Aventador, the Ferrari 458, and a McLaren. It's most likely the MP4. I don't think it was the P1 because that would have been very expensive to add up to $1 million. So keep in mind that he bought cars after. It's not like he just sold everything and okay, that's over with. So he bought cars after, and he learned his lesson with finances. Recently, it's a bit of a surprise that he sold his publishing catalog, and we didn't get the exact numbers on how much he sold it. But the company that bought him or bought his rights, they note that he sold over 50 million singles, accumulated billions of streams, and got 10 number ones. And he said, "We are excited to welcome T-Pain, a true trailblazer in the music industry, to the Harbor View family." And then T-Pain says, "I'm excited for the next chapter and to partner with Harbor View Equity as they help preserve the legacy of my music. This catalog represents years of hard work, creativity, and unforgettable moments, and I'm grateful to see it continue to reach new heights. I don't plan on stopping anytime soon." Buying catalogs is something we saw happen a lot in 2020, 2021, even 2022, but we've really seen it slow down in the past couple of years. And I think it's partially because many people thought that this year-on-year growth of acquisition of users by streaming platforms was going to continue, and that was not the case. So I wouldn't say it's stagnated, but once you get mainstream adoption, you're not going to keep adding more and more users. There's only so many users that are going to end up using the platforms. But some of the catalogs that these guys have bought that we would be familiar with is Fleetwood Mac, Wiz Khalifa, Nelly, Jeremiah. Some people are assuming that if Future sold $75 million worth, or sold it for $75 million worth, that T-Pain must be more. I'm not entirely too sure. I have no idea. I would like to see the numbers behind it. But a lot of this is private. So when Future is selling his masters or publishing, he's selling the percentage that he owns. So he may not own, because if you guys remember, Future had a deal with this guy Rocco who owned a lot of Future's music, and then Future's record label obviously owns a bunch of it. So let's say Future owns 15%. random number here. Future, the 15% that Future owns is what he sells. And then the record label still owns the other part. And the record label may sell it or they may not. So now I think what these companies are doing is they're only buying catalogs from artists that they know are going to continue streaming for a very long time. And some examples of that are artists from the 90s, artists from the 2000s. That's why a lot of these old acts, they're selling their catalogs. Right now, you don't know if an artist is going to stream if they've got some records. So the ones that had an opportunity to sell, they sold. And I've seen some comments, even in my own comment section on my Instagram, at helloyassine, where I posted this. Somebody said, oh, this is how he's going to go back broke again. And somebody said, why doesn't he just keep his masters? This is a nuanced conversation. And there are certain times where before we give out an opinion, and I try to do this as much as possible, we got to ask ourselves, what does this individual know that I don't? Because clearly T-Pain experienced being filthy rich, making 30 plus 50 million in a year or something, blowing a bag, nearly going broke, not because he wasn't generating income, but because his expenses were so high. And then getting back into it, and this is a side note, but some people think that T-Pain makes more from streaming than he does music. Absolutely not. Unless he's a partner in a company or highly paid. For example, T-Pain is not one of the most viewed people on Twitch. He's a huge brand, and I do think he has a deal because Patrick CC, he's talked about his deal. I don't know if he's released his numbers publicly. I don't want to put that type of stuff out there. But he had a deal with Twitch to stream a certain amount of time, hours-wise, and they were going to pay him a guaranteed salary. T-Pain was on something similar, but to another level, because the brand of T-Pain is not the brand of Patrick CC. And T-Pain was one of the original people on Twitch. I remember watching him in 2017. The guy was playing Overwatch. It was pretty dope to see. And at that time, he hadn't been promoting it a lot. He had probably a couple hundred viewers. But he was also at TwitchCon. They had him highlighted at these big conventions and events. And he was going to bring more brands from the music side of things into Twitch and let people know, hey, he's operating sort of as a liaison. So he may be getting a big salary for that or a partnership deal. I don't know how it's working with this Harborview equity thing. I think it's just selling. This is one of those companies that it's basically a bunch of partners come in and a bunch of people invest their money and they're like, hey, it's a new asset of this generation where they're like, hey, we bought these catalogs and you can buy a percentage of them. I'm not going to get into the business of it because I'm not too well versed on it. I know the overview, but I may need to research it for a video. I don't know if anybody's officially done something like that yet. But as for T-Pain, I don't think we should be worried about him monetarily. The guy's grown. He's been married for who knows how long. He's got a family. He's been through the ups and downs of the industry. He's always been mellow, and he knows what he's doing at this point in time. If he doesn't, it is what it is. But granted, that is a sick vehicle. Would I purchase it? Listen, ask me when I've got the money to purchase it. That's all I've got to say. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. You think this was a good move or not? Like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Go to helloyassine.com for exclusive daily updates. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Peace.